Hello and welcome to a special edition of Battle Cry. I'm Gaurav Sawant. On this special broadcast, we will tell you about the big Aatmanirbhar push in defense, and our focus remains on the light combat helicopter. The first of these LCH, the light combat helicopters, was handed over to the Indian Air Force by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
India gets its own Desi war chopper in the land of Rani of Jhansi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's big Aatmanirbhar defense push.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री वायुसेना अध्यक्ष महोदय को मॉडल को सौंपते हुए
LCH tried and tested in Ladakh. Armed with cannons, rockets and missiles. LCH to protect India's tanks and skies. Big Make in India game changer in defense. India's own Hellbirds is our top focus on India First.
It is a mega Aatmanirbhar defense push by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On the birth anniversary of Rani Lakshmibai at Jhansi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi handed over a model of the indigenously built light combat helicopter to the Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary. Now, these LCH helicopters are built to Indian specifications for high-altitude warfare, for example, at Eastern Ladakh or Siachen Glacier, built to specifications given by the Indian Air Force.
India gets its own Desi war choppers, flying missions in Ladakh since August 2020, now formally handed over to the Indian Air Force. Prime Minister Modi symbolically presents a model to Indian Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary at Jhansi. Mega Aatmanirbhar defense push on Rani Lakshmibai's birth anniversary. It is India's fearsome hell from the skies, built for kill at Ladakh and beyond.
It has been deployed last year as a user trial during the period when we had a standoff with China also. So it has operated well.
Armed with rockets, cannons and missiles, the light combat helicopters developed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is being hailed as a game changer.
ये ऐसा लाइट कॉम्बैट हेलीकॉप्टर है जो करीब 16,500 फीट की ऊंचाई पर उड़ सकता है। ये नए भारत की ताकत है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की उपलब्धि है।
But this was not the only marquee event on the final day of Rashtra Raksha Samarpan Parv. The Prime Minister also formally handed over indigenous drones designed and developed by Indian startups to Vice Chief of Army Staff C.P. Mohanty.
हमारी पहचान एक ही बन गई, हथियार खरीदार देश। हमारी गिनती उसी में रह रही थी, लेकिन आज देश का मंत्र है मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर वर्ल्ड।
The electronic warfare system, Shakti, designed and developed by DRDO's Defense Electronics Research Labs, was formally inducted in the Navy. The Shakti will provide an electronic layer of defense against modern radars and anti-ship missiles to ensure electronic dominance and survivability in the maritime battlefield. The system will replace the earlier generation EW systems of the Indian Navy. Prime Minister laid the foundation stone of the 400 crore project at Jhansi node of UP Defence Industrial Corridor, meant to set up a plant to produce propulsion systems for the anti-tank guided missile. The light combat helicopters, drones and the electronic warfare system are considered a game changer for India's arsenal, sending a strong message to adversaries Pakistan and China.
While the focus of the event was self-reliance in defense, but there was also political messaging ahead of UP elections. But the Prime Minister made it very clear that the armed forces have no other choice but to rely on equipment that is made in India. And that's the reason why the Defense Ministry has also come out with a list of 200 items that cannot be exported. This is a big thrust to ensure Aatmanirbharta or self-reliance. With camera person Pradeep Gupta, Abhishek Bhalla and Jhansi for India Today.
So developed by the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for the Indian Air Force, the light combat helicopters are all set to be a part of the Indian Air Force in the coming years. Now, the HAL chief insists in the next 1 year, they will be in a position to manufacture at least 15 of these helicopters for the Indian Air Force. Now, since August 2020, they have been tried extensively in eastern Ladakh.
It's true, the light combat helicopter can do what no other combat helicopter can. It can operate from India's high-altitude border battlefields in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh while still carrying meaningful weapon loads.
सबसे बढ़िया स्पेशलिटी है कि ये हमारे देश के लिए बना है। जैसे हमारे देश में बहुत अलग-अलग किस्म के टेरेन्स हैं, ऑल्टीट्यूड्स पे हिमालय की, ये आराम से ऑपरेट कर सकता है और हमारे ट्रूप्स को सपोर्ट कर सकता है। और दूसरे लोगों के पास कोई ऐसा कोई हथियार नहीं है जो इसके अगेंस्ट फील्ड कर सकते हैं।
This has to be seen against the backdrop of the Kargil war. That was way back then when we had attack helicopters. They couldn't come up to those altitudes because of performance limitations. That was when the Air Force wanted a weapon system with capability to reach those altitudes.
Sitting on the tarmac here in Bengaluru, this is one of 4 light combat helicopters so far built. The light combat helicopter is built to seek and destroy. And when it comes to that, this helicopter is formidably armed. With 70mm rocket pods, Mistral air-to-air missiles from France, a 20mm chin-mounted cannon, and the capability to deploy an anti-tank missile like the Indian Helena or German Pars-3.
The weapons are giving us good standoff capability. You're looking at rockets, air-to-ground rockets, which have been integrated with also a growth potential in terms of laser-pointed rockets and air-to-ground missiles. You have the gun, a very accurate 20mm gun, which is slave to the pilot sight.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India defence program hasn't really taken off in the large-scale way that it perhaps was anticipated to. But helicopter programs like the light combat helicopter are proof that making in India has to be the way of the future. We're now going to show you the other helicopter programs by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, all of these developed and tested here in India. The LCH is a true blue made in India combat helicopter, the lightest in the world, and when produced at full rate, it will be among the most cost-effective. While Pakistan has ordered the Turkish-built T-129 attack and China builds the Z-10, the LCH will evolve into a far more reliable machine once in operational service, mostly because the demands that will be made on it. All that remains now is for the government to open its doors to the first combat helicopter specifically built for India.
Hindustan Aeronautics Limited insists the light combat helicopter is now battle ready. India Today brings you up close to India's new Hellbird. India Today is the only channel to fly on board one of these light combat helicopters during a test flight at Bengaluru. India Today's executive editor Shiv Arur brings you their experience being on board this warbird.
Say namaste to the light combat helicopter. It doesn't have a formal name yet, but it's already fit and ready for the fight. Developed and test flown for nearly a decade by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the light combat helicopter is not just made in India, but custom built for India's unique battlefield conditions. From the deserts of Rajasthan to the super high altitudes of Ladakh. But what better way to get acquainted with a light combat helicopter than by taking a spin in one? I was invited by HAL's test team to strap into this helicopter and get a never-before taste of what this Swadeshi combat chopper is truly all about. India Today has been invited to be the first journalist team to fly in and experience the light combat helicopter developed and tested by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. This is India's first attack helicopters. It has missiles, it has rockets, it has guns, and we happen to be the first ever media crew who's going to get a taste of the light combat helicopter. For a flight in the LCH, I have to get into the full pilot kit. From overalls to flying boots. Joined by HAL test pilot Wing Commander Subhash John, we walk out onto the airfield to the waiting helicopter, soaking in the unforgiving Bengaluru sun. And it is here that I receive a crucial part of the flying experience I'm about to have. A combat flying helmet equipped with a helmet-mounted sight. An electro-optical system used by pilots to point various weapons at their targets. But more on that in just a bit. First, the inside of the light combat helicopter itself. Constructed with a sleek tandem cockpit rather than the usual side-by-side seats on other helicopter types, the LCH from the outside sports a stealthy front profile that also gives adversaries a smaller, harder target to latch onto. Wing Commander Subhash and I belt up, and then the engines come on. The rumble of the twin Shakti turboshaft engines come to life, rapidly turning the rotors into a steady chop. The helicopter is now ready to taxi out. With all checks done and cleared by air traffic control, the LCH gently lifts off. In airspace over Bengaluru, the light combat helicopter is put through a series of maneuvers, demonstrating its agility in the air and carefully customized flying qualities. The effortless handling that Wing Commander Subhash demonstrates at low altitude validates the years of tough flight testing that has gone into refining the LCH into the flying machine it is today. Returning to the tarmac after a 25-minute flight, I've just had the most personal possible tryst with an aircraft that stands on the threshold of Indian military service.
In high-altitude Ladakh, the Indian Air Force has been testing the light combat helicopter since August 2020. And let me now break down the LCH for you. What is the LCH? Well, this is a program that actually started in 2006. The first flight was on the 29th of March in 2010 at Bengaluru. And this is an expensive project. It's worth 3.76 billion rupees. Now, this is the Hellbird. It's a war chopper. The advantage, it's fully indigenous, made in India attack helicopter designed and developed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for the Indian Air Force. And it's a narrow body helicopter, tandem seating for pilots and the gunner. The advantage being it has advanced technology and stealth features. It does have an advanced electronic warfare suite. it is an extremely capable helicopter. It's been test flown in high altitude from the Siachen Glacier to eastern Ladakh and is perhaps a replacement for the armed version of the Chetak and Cheetah helicopters. Now, this is a new generation helicopter as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned. It's powered by the new generation Shakti engine. It's a twin engine helicopter and it's designed to operate. And remember, this is where it's only this helicopter that's designed to operate in extreme high altitude areas from 16,000 feet to up to 20,000 feet. It comes armed with 20 mm guns, 70 mm rockets. It's also armed with air-to-air and air-to-ground anti-tank guided missiles. It's an extremely capable helicopter. Now, the Ministry of Defense or the Indian Air Force is likely to place an order of anything between 12 to 15 choppers in the next 1 year. Now, what will future warbirds look like? What is the future of helicopters in combat? So, from the Apaches that Indian Air Force flies to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited built Rudra helicopter, let's take a look at the future war machines that promise to be a game changer for the Indian Air Force.
This is a real mix. From the world's most modern attack helicopter to a fully Indian attack helicopter. From a formidable Soviet-era attack helicopter to a utility helicopter kitted out for combat. This is India's present. But elsewhere in the world, the future of attack helicopters is already being scripted. The US Army is speeding towards choosing from among 5 futuristic concepts that will be the world's next big attack helicopter. In weeks from now, the US Army will eliminate 3 contenders from the Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft contest and fund the development of 2 helicopter prototypes, built by the world's most experienced helicopter companies. The concept art has already taken the aviation world by storm. The first to unveil itself, the Bell Invictus. Then comes the Raider X, built by Sikorsky, the company founded by helicopter pioneer Igor Sikorsky and the same firm that will soon supply MH-60 Romeo helicopters to the Indian Navy. And finally, Boeing's yet unnamed contender in the competition. Boeing, builder of the legendary Apache that's already in Indian Air Force service, will be pushing its experience in the field of armed helicopters to be a front-runner in the race. 3 futuristic helicopters, 3 firms with massive experience and their own major strengths. As this crucial tournament races towards a decision, the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army will be watching from a distance.
We will continue to track developments on this story very closely because whether it's at the Siachen Glacier or the burning Rajasthan deserts or the Northeast, India's Air Force and defense manufacturing remain our key focus area. That is all I have for you on this special edition of Battle Cry. Many thanks for watching.